The overhead camera rig. This build was inspired by a design by Linn from the Darbin Orvar Channel. I began this project by selecting some scraps of pine wood I have in the corner of my shop. I was able to find several pieces which could help me accomplish this build. After determining the rough dimensions I wanted to make this rig, I took my pieces over to the miter saw in order to cut them down to size. Here's everything cut down to size. I laid out the pieces so I could begin marking the locations in which I will screw the pieces together. Once all the pieces were marked, I took them over to the drill press in order to pre-drill all of the stiles for the rig. And here I am countersinking those same pieces. I transferred those holes to the rails and then proceeded to pre-drill the holes into the rails prior to screwing them together. For the assembly, I used screws and glue in order to secure the pieces together. Here I'm attaching the two side assemblies I just put together by clamping them onto my table saw and then attaching this rail onto what is going to be the bottom and the back of the rig. Again, I'm attaching this using screws and glue and pre-drilling all the holes. Now I'm flipping it over and I'm attaching what is the front and back top rails. Again, pre-drilling, applying glue, and screwing them together. Here is the main body of the rig all together. Here I am drilling 3 holes through both of the pieces of the gantry. This will allow the camera to be placed into 3 positions left to right on the rig. I'm drilling holes approximately every 1 inch along the camera arm, which will allow for incremental adjustments vertically. The bolt I have is too long for the thickness of the arm I have, so I'm creating essentially a spacer block to be affixed to the bottom of the arm, which will leave just enough threads on the back end to firmly hold the camera. Now that I have it together, I will grab a small camera to test out the fit. It fits well, and it will hold tightly in the correct positions. And it can be further tightened and loosened using a flathead screwdriver. I'll go ahead and turn this on, see if it works. And it works. Now it's time to assemble this gantry. I take the 3 main pieces and my bolts and I go ahead and fit them together, and they fit well. In order to secure the ends of the gantry rails, I have to make these blocks to hold them together, and it will also allow them to ride along the left and right rails of the rig. Well, here they are, all cut off. I'm going to use this scrap piece to mark the spacing for the screws. I am pre-drilling the necessary holes onto the gantry rails in order to prevent splitting of the wood. With everything pre-drilled, I'll go ahead and screw these in place. I'm not going to use glue here in case I need to further modify this in the future, or if I want to change the design as a whole. I had to move back and forth between the rig and my workbench in order to tweak the spacing of these rails in order to get it to fit correctly. And here are the rails. They slide back and forth relatively smoothly. And I'll be attaching this arm now by running the bolt through it and getting the camera attached also. I'm going to set this down about 50% of the way, which is approximately 10 inches from the top of the rig, and it fits well. Build complete. Here I'm running through a series of tests where I am gauging the upper, lower, and left and right limits of the rig. And I'm doing this by marking indications on this piece of paper to help demonstrate those limits. And that is a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of notebook paper. Well, that is it. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.